Back when I was a younger and dumber parent, I can remember thinking I was doing such a great job parenting by pouring my children a yummy bowl of Cheerios. I did not know better then. Now, as an older and wiser parent, I would never give my children Cheerios and think that I was giving them anything other than a bowl full of sugar. Let me explain. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician, and we're going to talk about the actual ingredients of Cheerios and should you ever eat them yourself or give them to your children. Here's the ingredient list for just original Cheerios, not the honey frosted or the sugar added Cheerios, just plain Cheerios, which as you probably know don't taste that sweet at all. So the first ingredient is whole grain oats. That sounds very good, but the problem is that oats are an excellent source of starch. So what, you might say? Well, starch is literally a long chain of sugar molecules joined together by a chemical or a bond. You have an enzyme in your mouth called amylase that the instant you start to chew up the Cheerios, it starts to break down the bonds between the starch and it turns this starch into sugar. Yeah. And so I found this website that says that Cheerios are 57% starch. And so all of the whole grain oats, which sounds very good and wholesome, is made up of starch. And so that starch breaks down into sugar. The second ingredient is cornstarch. Again, long chains of sugar, which break down immediately before you even swallow that bolus of chewed up Cheerios. It's already starting to break that down into just pure sugar. And then the third ingredient of Cheerios is sugar. So you're basically having sugar with some sugar with a little bit of added sugar. That's what Cheerios is. Add a tiny amount of salt and some tripotassium phosphate and some synthetic vitamin E and you've got Cheerios. That's literally all they're made of. There's nothing magical. I can remember the cute little Cheerios commercials when I was growing up. I even remember the Cheerios song. Do you? But the problem is it's just a bowl of sugar. Now, there's one more problem with Cheerios that it doesn't seem that General Mills has corrected yet. There was an article published about some research done by the Environmental Working Group that showed that when the oats that Cheerios are made from, when they're ripe and ready to harvest, they spray the entire crop with glyphosate. Yeah, Roundup, made by Monsanto, now Bayer. And there's a huge hullabaloo in the news about this, that basically every bowl of Cheerios you eat contains a lot of glyphosate. And I'll link to all this stuff down in the show notes below. And before making this video in 2021, I really combed through the news articles to see if perhaps General Mills had issued a press release saying, hey, that's bad that we had weed killer in our Cheerios, so we've changed and we don't have it anymore. But I couldn't find a single news article or press release saying that Cheerios is not still full of glyphosate. So until further notice, I guess it is. I was going to reach out to General Mills and on Twitter, but it turns out they blocked me, so I couldn't ask them a question. So maybe one of you guys can tag them in this video, and if they have gotten rid of the glyphosate from their whole grain oats, then I will happily put an addendum on this video and stand corrected. So basically, to sum this up, if you're interested in giving your kids or other family members a bowl full of sugar with a little bit of sprinkling of glyphosate on top, then Cheerios is the chemically manufactured product for you. If, however, what you'd like to give your family members for breakfast is actual food that contains nutrients, I would avoid Cheerios. This is Dr.